At some stage, early on in every gardener's life, we know absolutely nothing about gardening. If you're new to the fun and wonder of gardening, here's my first tip, which I call my first tip.
My first tip.
And I think this is a really important one. Get to know your site, walk through the space, thinking of how you're going to use it. I didn't start on my garden for a whole year, and that allowed me to answer some really important questions. Questions like, how does the arc of the sun operate over your site throughout the course of the year? Where do your shadows fall? And which spot gets the most sun? Because if you're going to plant, say, a veggie patch, it'll need at least 6 hours of sunlight a day to function best. It'll give you time to figure out other factors like weather patterns and microclimates before you spend up big on mature trees or landscaping. I know it's really exciting to watch that seed burst into life out of the ground, but that spot that was wet and shady during the autumn or the winter could be dry and bake in the sun over the summer, killing that little plant that you put there.
Tip number the second, get the soil right.
Your plants are only as good as the soil they're growing in, so look after it. When it comes to veggie gardening, I dig my soil over well, and I add plenty of organic matter in the shape of this stuff. Gorgeous compost. This is important for any soil type, but say for example you've got a sandy soil. Compost will give it body, meaning it'll hold on to nutrients and water better, and your plants will grow better. If you're going to feed your plants, feed them with manure. Not only will that break down and feed your plants, it'll also feed the soil. And if you're in a clay soil, both of these additives are really important. But a really good addition is this stuff, gypsum. It's a form of lime, and it'll help to break the clay particles apart, meaning you can till over your soil better and add more compost, and your plant roots will get down into the soil where they'll be nice and happy.
Start with a kiss. Tip number 3. Keep it simple, Simon.
When you first start planting, why not try a crop that's guaranteed not to fail? Things like silver beet or this ruby chard here. They're very resilient and they're fairly pest-free. Given a half-decent soil and full sun, they will thrive. And their big fleshy root means that they're very forgiving of neglect during dry periods. Many other leafy greens also cope with a range of conditions and self-seed readily, including lettuce, bok choy, turnips, mustard greens and carrots. So kick off with something simple.
Tip number 4, pick the best.
Not all seedlings were born equal. Assuming that the growers started with the same seed and the same mix, some plants look plump, well-watered, well-fed and well-weeded, whereas others can look a little bit dry and ratty. So always go for the healthier looking option. And have a look out for insect damage or fungal damage. For example, these kamansu here have powdery mildew, so I'd leave them on the shelf. Now, when you start to see bigger plants like this, they look impressive, but they're very leggy. And in the case of this red drum-headed cabbage, if you put that in the ground, there'd be a high chance that it'd bolt, flower, and go to seed. Then you get to plants that look like this. They're covered in fruit and look very attractive. But the plant has put a lot of effort into growing these fruit, and you think you're going to get a good feed, but all you usually get is what's on there. My advice with a plant like this is knock all the fruit and the flowers off before you put it in the ground. Now you see little seedlings like these rocket here. They are a bit of a problem because they're too small to go in the ground, but it's easily fixed. You just need to grow them on for a couple of weeks till they fill out the pot, and then they can go straight in. Then you've got things like the mesclun and the chard here. They're lush, they've filled out the pot, and they've probably got good roots. And the way to check that is to give the pot a little squeeze. If you get resistant, you've got root mass in there, or have a look underneath. So you've got too big, too fruity, too small, and just right.
Tip 5, remember, size does matter.
When planting out, be realistic about plant size. These are tiny seeds, but some of the world's tallest trees come from the smallest of seeds. So remember, Always refer to the label when it comes to the estimated size of your plant. Spacing is also vitally important in the vegetable garden. We've all done it. We've got a punnet and we've tried to put those last 2 seedlings in the row just to finish the punnet off. But overcrowded plants rarely thrive, and a lack of airflow through the crop can mean fungal infestation or insect infestation. Rather than losing those 2 seedlings, you could potentially lose the whole crop. And when sowing from seed, we can be a bit indiscriminate. Carrots benefit from a good thinning, but in the case of lettuce, like here, all you can do is wait for the seed to germinate, the seedlings to come up nice and strong, and then you can just prick them out and replant them with the correct spacings.
Tip 6. The ultimate secret to great gardening is revealed.
Look, there really is no great secret. The best advice I can give you is just keep at it. Even the most experienced gardeners are still learning about soil, plants, and the weather. So don't expect to get it right the first time. And don't forget, a dead plant isn't a failure. It's compost.